Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see so many here tonight, and a particular welcome to those who are unable to get here and joining us on the net through the streaming, and will be joining with us in also selecting priorities later on in the meeting. Well, that's enough from me, and I'm going to bring on Inspector Ferry straight away to update us on the general crime levels in Haverhill. Let's hope they're still going in a downward direction.
Thank you very much. Firstly, apologies from me. I'm currently the duty inspector for the West of Suffolk and also the custody inspector for the West of Suffolk. So if I have to get up because the phone or the radio is going, it's nothing to do with you. Apologies for that, but I'm doing several things at once tonight. Also, you'll see somebody slightly different to my right. Sergeant Gary Miller, who's our SNT sergeant, has been promoted in the recent Sergeant to Inspector's promotion board. Mark is currently filling in. Gary will get his post in a couple of weeks, I believe. Mark is the current acting sergeant for the SNT, so he'll be filling Gary's role this evening, and welcome to Mark. I'm going to try and say a lot less this evening than I have done on previous meetings. I think we had some feedback that I was saying rather too much, so once I've done my bit, I'm going to try not to say too much more. Just to go through the crime so far since April the 1st, report crime has gone down substantially. Unfortunately, at this point, I can't say that. So far this year, from April the 1st, we've had 359 crimes in Haverhill. That's total recorded crime. Our 3-year average is 351. So we're very slightly up, very slightly up. But to go through all the things that we're doing well at, violence with injury, we've had 37 so far this year. Since April the 1st, our average is 40, so we're down. Sexual offences, we've had 2 so far this year. Our average is 5, so we're down on that. Acquisitive crime, which is all sorts of thefts of every type, we're 157 this year. Our average is 164, so we're down. Vehicle crime, we're way down. We've only had 23 vehicle crimes so far this year, and our average is 49, so we're less than half. That's wonderful. And ASB incidents, again, that's down. 199 so far this year from April the 1st, compared to our 3-year average of 279. So that's all the things that are going really well. And then to go through some of the things that aren't going quite so well. Domestic burglary, we've had 16 so far this year. And I should point out these figures are the most recent I have, which is up to Sunday the 8th of June. So it's a week out of date, but that's the best that we've got at the moment. Domestic burglary 16 compared to our 3-year average of 8, so we're at double the rate that I would expect to see at this time of year. What I can tell you very briefly is that someone was arrested who we suspect very strongly is responsible for a string of those burglaries, and they're currently out on bail. I can't mention the name because they haven't been charged, but that person has been arrested, has been interviewed, and is currently out on bail. Also up, shoplifting, which is a bit strange. We've had 44 so far this year. Our average is 37. We've got several repeat offenders that Mark, as the town centre beat officer, is very well aware of. We're keeping our eye on them, and one of those was arrested only a couple of days ago. Also up, drug offences 23 this year compared to our average of 12, 3-year average of 12. Again, nearly doubled, but I'm absolutely certain that's because of the proactive work that we've put in place because of the priorities that you're going to hear about in just a minute. So when I look at that picture, there's some ups, some downs, but we're doing okay. Usually I come in here and I report that our figures are absolutely brilliant. I can't do that at the moment, but we are very early in the year. We're doing okay, and that's all I can say on that.
Pardon?
I think you're going to get a full update on that as we go through the evening. Mark is the officer in the case for that, so it's ideal that he's here.
Have we got a roving mic, John? Thank you. It's on its way.
John's wearing a lot of hats as well. Anyone who wants to speak, John's got a microphone for you.
Right, any questions for Inspector Ferry then? Gordon Cox.
Can I ask, regarding apprehending offenders, how many have been apprehended as a result of CCTV surveillance, and what financial contribution does the police make to the operational costs of the CCT cameras?
I can answer that in part. CCTV is a fantastic tool for us. I haven't got exact figures as to how many offences are detected because of it, but for things like shoplifting, we catch a lot of offenders like that. Also, antisocial behaviour and also nighttime economy crimes in the town centre at night. You get a lot of people leaving the bars who have punch-ups, and a lot of the detections we get are because of the wonderful nature of the Haverhill CCTV that picks up a lot of the offences as they're actually happening. It's spread throughout the town. It's not immediately noticeable, but if you look on some of the high pillars, you'll see the CCTV, sort of, it looks like a goldfish bowl upside down, and that's the CCTV. I don't believe it stretches up that far.
And we are classified as a rep as being town centre, but the crime there really is controlled on the weekend. I live right in the corner, and if the police don't come and the CCTV is successful, perhaps we could be considered for that on the recreation.
Well,
Could I just say, please don't shout out your questions. Raise your hand, we'll make a note and we'll get to you with the microphone. Other people have had their hands up before you and they should speak before you. Thank you very much. Come on, Peter.
To answer that, one of the priorities we've just had for the past 3 months was to do with the recreation ground. We do obviously realise that a lot of the people going home to the Clements after a night out have to cross the recreation ground. So it is somewhere that we patrol. I wouldn't say we patrol it as regularly as the High Street on a Friday and Saturday night, but it is part of that regular route home for people, so we do patrol that. Just to answer Gordon's second point, I honestly don't have any idea how much we contribute towards the cost of CCTV.
The gentleman on your right hand, Bob.
Inspector, my name is Penak. I just wondered, I have 3 questions here I'd like to put to you, please. The first one is, how many police officers are on duty after 10 p.m. in Haverhill on the weekend? That's question 1. And question 2, how often does the police officers or PCO patrol on foot in the area of Couples Road? Question 3, how often are offense or criminal damage to cars in Haverhill? Those are the 3 questions.
Okay, if I forget any of those, please prompt me again. The first one, if you set the time at 12 o'clock on a Friday and Saturday night, I can tell you how many are on duty. Or I'm in the middle of a meeting. Is it urgent? I'm sorry. We have a sergeant and 4 on each of our shifts. At 10 o'clock, there would be that sergeant and 4, plus whatever SNT officers are on duty.
Yes.
At 11 o'clock on the weekend, we get another shift coming. That's the night shift. So we'd have another sergeant and 4 if the shifts were at full strength. So you could potentially be looking at 2 sergeants plus 8 constables, plus whatever SNT constables were available as well.
Right. And question 2, how often does police officers or PCO patrol on foot in the area of Couples Road where I live?
I honestly have no exact answer for you. The officer that would cover that, the constable and the PCSO, would do a patrol around their area every day on foot if they're on duty. They shouldn't be driving about, they should be on foot.
Well, I can assure you that I haven't seen any on foot. I saw the vans and cars flash by, which you cannot approach because they're gone. But in time past, we used to have an officer on foot that patrolled the area and sometimes would generally come at random and knock on resident doors just to ask and make themselves known to us, and obviously ask questions relating to any issues. And we have seen that has completely passed and gone. And
if you could give Mark the street name, I'll find out which officer actually patrols that area, and I'll make sure that they do patrol your street. And just the third question, please.
Third question: how often are offence of criminal damage to cars detected in Haverhill?
That's a difficult one. I'll look at the criminal damage detection rate. It doesn't stand terribly high. At the moment, it's 10.7%. So that's not specific to cars, but we're detecting roughly 1 out of every 9 or 10 offences.
Thank you. Anyone?
No, gentleman in the blue shirt, there's behind you. Thank you.
I would like to thank the police. Not to hear that, but a fortnight ago, I picked a purse up in the car park near the toilets. I took it into the police station, and by Wednesday, the lady was on the phone and said she had received her purse without nothing being moved or touched in that purse. Now, I'd like to thank the police for that. The second one is the police comes up to Orchard Close, but they don't walk down it, they drive down, because they can't walk down because the cars are right across the road, across the path, I mean. So I think it's something that needs looking at by the police.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further questions for Inspector Perry? Gentleman in the green shirt.
There, but it might just be a question of reminding officers before they go out on patrol that that's a location to check.
Yeah, because with the school holidays coming up in July, you're going to have 6 weeks where half term was the worst time. I chucked 3 lots out there in half term, just the May half term, which I'm quite prepared to do. But yeah, I warned them about their own safety more than anything. And I did take some names of ones that were smashing glass and passed them on to the PCSO. And I understand that they may have been sent letters, but...
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Right, lady on the second row here, if someone can pass the mic along. Thank you, John.
I know the police officers already said to us, don't cause any trouble. We don't mean to cause trouble, but... yeah, I've only lived in the place since February.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
Oh, God. Hello? Testing. I've only actually lived in Cambridge House, which is Ashley Road and Close, since February. And the people that we're talking about that's causing just so much upset. And like, for example, on Saturday, other people had to call the police because John lives right next door and they got music going. It woke me up at 1 o'clock in the morning and we stood outside for 20 minutes, maybe longer, until the police actually arrived.
Oh, yeah, I've been liaising with John for several months now, and we were hoping, for those that don't know, Ashley Close, a small, quiet close, unfortunately is a multi-occupancy rented house with youngsters within, and they've been a bit of a pain in the you-know-what. We've been looking via the landlord of the house to get an eviction, which has changed dates now. The last time I spoke to John on Sunday, it was going to be tomorrow, but that's now been put on to Saturday. That's doing it by offering them money to get out, to save the landlord the long, expensive, long-winded process of civil eviction, which could generate more issues. So that's where we are on that. In respect to the police, I've spoke to John. The first call made to the police by John was a plea for help in relation to loud music. Mr. Ferry's being a control room inspector. They straight away said it's an environmental health issue. That totally goes against what I advised, but they were the control room. Consequently, it escalated. The problem is, it is an environmental health issue. We have no power to ask someone to turn their music down in a private place. But that's not been directly made or produced as any evidence to me for us to arrest them. And that's where we are.
One night we had a van parked right facing my bedroom window. 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with these big lights flashing. And there was somebody sitting in the van, turning the lights on, turning it on. Turning the lights on, and it went on for about half an hour.
Did you call the police at the time?
I've got a phone that doesn't work in my house. So to call the police, I've got to get up, walk out.
But I will be blunt, we can't do much about it 6 weeks down the line, can we? Noel's house party? Beatles about. No. At the moment, they have not committed any criminal act. Criminal act for us to go in. No one can prove that. Have you been in the house? No one can prove that. I've been liaising with John in relation to if they start effing and blinding out of the window, we'll deal with them for a public order offence. It hasn't happened. On Saturday night, I accept that, but is it not true that a number of your neighbours were effing and blinding back? 2 wrongs don't make a right. We can't, if we deal with them, we'd have to deal with the whole neighbourhood. We need them to commit a criminal offence, which they have not done, to enable us to have the oomph via the landlord to evict them. And as their level of being a pain, don't get me wrong, they are a pain in the arse, and I apologise for using that word, but their level of committing offences hasn't happened yet. They've been a constant pain, which means that the only way it can be dealt with was by a civil injunction via the landlord and Haverhill Housing.
Okay.
We're fully aware of who the landlord is, and we're in conjunction with him.
Right, well,
John, continue.
Thank you for that, Mark. I think you're well informed on the case and looking after it. I think, can we get on to more general issues? Councillor Cox. Who's got the mic?
Had a use for myself after all.
Following on from what Mr. Pinnock was saying, is there a regular foot patrol regime which goes on the Russian estates and the private estates during the hours of 9 and 7 every day?
No, the intelligence that we get come in will drive where the officers patrol. The SNT officers have all got their own patrol areas, but in terms of the general officers, the response officers, they're driven by the intelligence and the particular crime that's happening in the town at that moment. So if we've got a particular problem on the Clements, for example, more officers will patrol the Clements at set times. We call it red routing. If there's a particular problem on the Chalkston, then the red route will be on the Chalkston, and any uncommitted patrol time will then be at that particular area.
So there's no regular regime which goes on where officers are out on foot patrol every evening, night?
The SNT officers will all patrol their individual areas. They've all got individual areas, so they will always patrol their individual area.
What, during the night?
They work until 4 o'clock at the weekends, until 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock during the rest of the week.
I think some of the members of the public are under the illusion that police officers are patrolling the streets day and night, when it's not necessarily the case.
Well, they are. The response officers work 24/7, but the SNT
response officers, yeah,
response officers. But the SNT officers finish at 4 o'clock at the weekends, and 2 o'clock or 12 o'clock during the rest of the week.
And just
But
one
the
other,
response officers are always there.
right, just one other response, please. The SNT team are registered on the Suffolk Constabulary website, but not all the officers who are based at Haverhill are on the website.
Yeah, we can look at that, Ros, if we can have a look at that.
Yeah, I did send you an email 2 weeks ago regarding that.
Yeah, I've been endorsing it for the past 2 weeks.
Lucky devil.
Within the town and lorries parking on Hollands Road. And it was obviously to deal with the issues identified. In total 69 additional patrols were carried out at the start and end of school days. The emphasis was placed on Place Farm, Samuel Ward, Burton End, St Felix. And these appear to require the most attention. The patrols were broken down as follows. Place Farm 24, Samuel Ward 13, St Felix and Burton End 13. Couples Primary 7 patrols, Westfields 5, Clements Primary 5 and Castle Manor 2 patrols. 32 verbal warnings were issued to drivers and they were required to move their vehicles, and 1 fixed penalty ticket was issued where we couldn't locate the driver. In relation to the parking of lorries Hollands Road, near to the junction of Dudley Hill, 15 separate patrols were carried out, and it's a bit like buses, but every time the officers went there were no vehicles parked illegally. Must have closed their eyes, let's be honest. Oh God, that went down like a sack of bricks. Priority 3 was gathering intel, carried out enforcement in relation to drug-related issues. Warrants from, we don't just go in willy-nilly. So out of the 8 positive drugs warrants is a good result. That's where you sort of increase your drug crimes. Otherwise there'd be no drug crimes, but we've identified 8. So that's the current SNT priorities. As a matter of interest, since our favourite friend parking in the high street ceased back in March, there have been 140 parking tickets issued when that priority wasn't about. So we're still ongoing. Got to be honest, it was by 1 officer, and that weren't me and him. So that's still ongoing in the town centre, as aside from the SNT priorities. So once one's stopped, they're not forgotten. We carry on. Thank you.
Very much, Mark, for that, and keep bringing us up to date. I don't think there's anything that we can really add to that, so we'll move straight on then to item 4, which is for you, the public, to raise items of concern for considerations future parties. Now, I suggest you form into groups for that, and leave you to form your own groups, and then let's give it how long? 15 minutes?
Right. So far, we've had the online site up and running for the last few days, and people have already sent in some priorities already. So, so they don't clash with your ones, I'll read the gist of what they are at the moment out, so you know what they are. Some's already come in about dog fouling and littering. Also, there's quite a few people coming online around speeding around the estates, Chimswell Way, Chivers Road and Bergamot Road. We've also got, which has been quite a popular one that's come in, is cycling on footpaths. Quite a few people have wrote in about that one, especially as someone got seriously injured the other day, knocked over on one of the footpaths by a cyclist. So that's one of the main ones. And also from one of the other councillors who's had a lot of residents come back to him over antisocial behaviour with cars around the industrial estate, especially Hollands Road and Homefield Road. And also, what else have we got? Someone's come back with wishing to continue the SNT priority from last time around the drugs. So those ones are already in the system. So if you could not bring those ones up and maybe just stick to ones that aren't already in the system. Thank you.
Right, away you go. 15 minutes then, ladies and gentlemen. 15 minutes to come up with 3 priorities from each group. Right.
I'm Pat Hanlon. I'm the town councillor for Haverhill East. I'm just going to read the 9 priorities out. The first one is antisocial behaviour in Ashley Close. The second one is residential burglaries, more foot patrols for reassurance. The third one is antisocial parking on grass pavements, especially Orchard Close, grass and pavements, especially Orchard Close. 4 is drugs Worthing Place, which is at the back of Worthing Place, I think in between the elderly people's home that's being built and Worthing Place. There's drugs in the Aeroplane Park, which is on the Chalkston estate. Drugs on the recreation ground, playground areas. 5 is dog fouling and littering in open spaces. 6 is cycling on pavements, which was mentioned earlier, and the high street. 7 is parking on double yellow lines at the junction of Castle Avenue and Camps Road. And 8 is antisocial behaviour on the recreation ground. 9 is speeding and antisocial behaviour with cars, especially on the industrial estate area. As I say, I think Tim mentioned you've got 3 stars on your table. You come up and then you put your 3 most priorities that you want to be prioritised for the next 3 months. And now you can start. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello. This is the result. It's not the Eurovision Song Contest, by the way. It's a police priority. Right. I've got these numbers including the online votes as well. So this, that's why these stars will be different to the actual total, because they include the online numbers as well. Right. The top priority with 30. Well, I'll read them all out first, how many there is. Number 1 at 20 votes. Number 2, 24 votes. Number 3, 18 votes. Number 4, 31 votes. No. Sorry? It doesn't matter if you chose to put 3 or on 1. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, well, who told you it was 3 different things? You can, it's up to you how many votes you put on. You only allowed 3, though. That's the thing. That's an important part. Right. Where was I? On number 4, which is 31 votes. 5 is 9 votes. 6 is 18 votes. 7 is 4 votes. 8 is 12 votes. 9 is 12 votes. Right, the top priority is number 4 with 31 votes. The second priority is number 2 with 24 votes. And the third priority is number 1 with 20 votes. Okay, they're your 3 priorities. Okay, thank you very much. I'll pass you over to Tim now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation. And there you have it, 3 priorities now for the next 3 months. And we'll see where we go at the end of those 3 months. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for your participation. Good night.